That time of the day again. Welcome to your 4 to 5. Eric, Chad, Lauren, Monique is here too. She'll be along in a sec. We've got lots going on, lots to talk about today.
Lots going on. Thanks for watching us on News 2, Fire Stick, Roku, and the WFMY News 2 app.
Coming up this half hour, it's one of Eric Chilton's favorite segments, Useless Trivia.
I love it.
Can you give us a tease? A
One is the shortest war in the history of the world, and it's a funny story.
Okay.
The other one has to do with strawberries. We'll get to all that.
Ooh, I love strawberries.
They're all over the place.
Absolutely, I'm ready for it.
Well, let's talk weather. That's a big story today, too. Right now, we're tracking cooler temperatures settling in across the Triad. Take a look at this time lapse of downtown Greensboro. This morning, we started off pretty wet. Rain battered the area with strong winds reported in some places.
The rain actually came from the remnants of severe weather in the deep south. Tornadoes and quarter-sized hail caused devastating destruction in parts of Alabama and elsewhere. Several homes were destroyed with their roofs blown off, trees fallen over them, and debris lying in the front yard. At this point, there are no reported injuries.
Yeah, fortunately, all that stayed to the south of us, and now that system has moved through. But, Monique, we're talking about temperatures dropping like a rock here.
Dropping like a rock for sure behind this cold front crossing. These clouds that you see extended across the Carolinas are shifting often to the east. Behind that, we have very dry air. Really nothing happening, and you can't see the temperatures on here, but you will feel them tonight. This is that dry air settling in. We often show this map to compare the moisture to the dry places. The white and the blue that you're seeing here is where the moisture is, and the brown looking like chocolate is the dry air. So as we've gone through the course of the day, all that moisture has shifted offshore, and now we're dealing with the dry conditions. As I mentioned, those temperatures have changed over time throughout the day, and they will continue to do so as we go into the evening. This is that very cold, chilly Arctic air is going to be pushing in towards our area behind that cold front crossing. We're talking chilly numbers out towards the north and west. Omaha at a 28. Now, I am not expecting for us to get that right now or even in the next hour, but tonight some folks could get that cold. Even when we look in Chicago, temperatures at 29, Cincinnati at a 40, St. Louis sitting at 39. This is the dew points. Now you can see most of the moisture is concentrated to this tiny slither along the East Coast. Everywhere else is dealing with that very dry air that comes in behind the cold front. So we will be feeling that bone dry air. You need the chapstick, you need the lotion tomorrow as that dry air comes on in. The last 20 hours, temperatures have been able to warm up with that sunshine coming out, allowing for our air to bake. But tonight, these numbers are going down like a rock, like Eric said, going down into the 20s for some folks, down into the 30s. This is around that freezing point. We haven't seen numbers this low in quite a while, so brace yourselves tonight. And take notice at the timestamp. I'm saying tonight, but look at these times, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. when you're more than likely headed out to work. So that winter gear, you may have put it off for a little bit, but tomorrow, well, at least me, I'm wearing the winter gear as temperatures fall on down to around freezing again tomorrow. Now, as we go through the weekend, there's a rain chance in the forecast. I'll talk more about it coming up.
Yeah, Monique, I'm going to be pulling out the puffy coat with tomorrow's cold temperatures. You're going to want to keep WFMY News 2, our app, close. That way you'll know how many layers you'll need in the morning. You can download the app in the Apple Store or the Google Play.
All right, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup now. First up today, 10 new state laws go into place tomorrow. Some of the changes include tighter punishment for arson, organized retail theft, and improper car inspections. The legislation also impacts domestic violence cases. Soon, judges will be able to extend protective orders for people awaiting court hearings. The State Board of Elections has certified the results of the midterm election. The announcement comes after an extensive canvassing process designed to ensure all votes were counted correctly. Among the results certified, U.S. Senate and all 14 of the U.S. House races. The board's executive director says county and state audits prove the accuracy of that count.
New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries is the new House Democratic leader. The party held the internal election today as Speaker Nancy Pelosi prepares to step aside. Jeffries will be the first Black American to lead a major political party in Congress. His role officially starts in January when the Republicans take over the House. Right now, there's a wildfire burning out east with no signs of slowing down. Right now, you're looking at pictures from Haywood County near Asheville. State firefighters say the fire is 25% contained with nearly 500 acres burned. They hope overnight rainfall in the area will help with the conditions.
Earlier in the show, meteorologist Monique Robinson talked about tomorrow's cold temperatures, and we're talking about temperatures into the 20s. Yeah, you're going to need that big coat there and keep it with you all day. Some people happy about this, others not. Some people think it's that time of the year, but let's see what you had to say on Facebook here. Naomi said, hate it. Don't like cold weather. My arthritis doesn't like cold weather either. Sorry. Larry says, bring me some snow so my Christmas lights outside will glow in it. Bring on the cold, he says. Jenny says, I love the cold temps to cut on the gas logs with the Christmas lights and enjoy the view. Joy says, at least it's not the low temperatures for the 20s, or excuse me, at least it is the lows, not the highs. That's a good point. Virginia says, hate it. I spend winter and summer cold. This New Yorker thought the South was warmer than this. But I do agree with the at least it's not the high temperatures or in the 20s.
Right,
it's
I'm with
lows.
Virginia. I like cold, snowy weather one day a year, and it's on Christmas. And if I could have 75 every other day and sunny, I'll take it.
I'm with you on that one. I don't mind it getting cold, but snow, I'm not looking forward to any snow or ice in the future. I just don't want to get out and drive in it, but I don't mind it when it gets a little chilly.
I can handle one snow a year. You give me like one snow, 4 or 5 inches of snow a year, then I'm happy. But I'm with you. If it's on Christmas, that's the
You want it, yeah.
Perfect.
I love when I see like pro name your sport athletes where they bring a snow maker to the neighborhood. They live in like a tropical place, Miami and Tampa, and they make snow in the yard, and all the kids come from around the neighborhood and get to play in it. I love that.
If you ever go to Disney at Christmas, when you're walking down this one street, they blow tiny little soap bubbles, but they're so little and they're blown out of the sides, and it looks like the whole place is snowing.
That's kind of like what they do at
Winterfest. I was just thinking about that.
I think it's soap that they use.
Oh, it's
and
similar
It looks
then.
like snow. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's a safe kind.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll take that.
You don't have to plow much of that.
No, it's easy. All right, let's head over to Monique.
A North Carolina A&T female professor is leading the first joint lab between an HBCU and U.S. soldiers. This professor says what's happening right in our backyard is unprecedented in the U.S. and across the world. We learn more and meet that phenomenal professor next. Well, sometimes in life you wind up in the right place at the right time, meeting the right person. Other times you need a connection to make an introduction happen. In this case, North Carolina A&T student Jessica Norcott's mother was the connection between her and Professor Kristen Dillinger.
I met her by fate.
Norcott says Dillinger was her mom's customer at the DMV in 2019. Her mother spotted Dillinger's NC A&T lanyard.
She gets to talking, telling her she's a professor over at the joint school. And then my mom's like, what's that? Then my mom's like, oh, my daughter is into the science field. She might be interested in that school. She's actually about to graduate 2020. And then Dillinger offers that I should come and take a tour of the school. And from there's history.
Yes, it's the white top. Okay. My stuff's in the back. His is right there.
For PhD student Ivy Cochlery, she came across Dillinger's work at the North Carolina A&T Joint School of Nanoscience and Nanoengineering.
I'm so grateful to have found Dr. Dillinger's lab.
The lab is one of a kind.
This Joint School of Nanoscience and Nanoengineering is really unprecedented a place in the U.S. and even across the world, that there's such a focus on working at the nanoscale.
Dillinger says the current work focuses on using nanoscience to help patients rapidly diagnose diseases.
Well, one thing we're working on is developing early screening devices for Alzheimer's disease. This means that people can screen themselves if they have the potential for developing Alzheimer's disease before the onset of clinical symptoms.
Dillinger's lab work attracted the Department of Defense. They joined forces, becoming the first and only joint collaborative lab to use nanotechnology to help U.S. soldiers.
So we're working on using something called a DNA zyme, which is going to be incorporated into a microfluidic chip. So the ultimate application of that work will be able to allow soldiers to detect whether their water is clean and safe to drink.
Dillinger has a personal tie to this project too.
My husband's best friend and brother, who served in the U.S. military from 1998 to 2013. He's a highly decorated combat veteran and is very, very close to our family. So the ability to work on these projects with the Soldier Center is just very meaningful to me.
In the future, her work could eventually help you and me.
We're hoping that that can also be useful for communities impacted by hurricanes or by natural disasters, so that these sensors can also be deployed in those emergency scenarios.
And maybe Jessica's research findings could help us also.
We've been going through this journey together, and she's really given me lots of inspiration to continue to get my PhD.
So this nanotechnology is obviously, they describe some things they can use it for: detecting Alzheimer's early, to clean drinking water, whether it's a hurricane after and people need to get clean water fast, or there's soldiers out base somewhere, they need to figure out, is this water safe to drink? Or even the last woman that was on, she was using it to use for COVID, finding another alternative to diagnosing COVID.
It's incredible. It's wild. And keeping in mind the situation that's happening at Camp Lejeune right now, and the lawsuits because of the toxic drinking water there. I mean, this is so timely.
Yeah, for sure.
It also highlights just all the great work that's happening at North Carolina A&T. There's so many great projects, so many great resources there.
Yeah, and this is the first partnership with the U.S. Army. So working with U.S. soldiers in an HBCU has never been done before. Right here in Greensboro.
That's great. Imagine you go home every day and you go, I might have just helped to start the cure for Alzheimer's, and I'm helping soldiers get clean water overseas.
Right. And all of them have personal connections to it all. So like someone has some family member or someone that's in it, so it's making it more passionate. Even the one girl that's helping with COVID, she started the year off with COVID for like an extended period of time. So it was like, she's like, I need to figure this out.
I don't want anyone to go through this again.
That's great story.
I love the shot inside the microscope.
Yes. We were like, I said, okay, Crosby, I see.
All of us were looking at that. That's so cool. I mean, that kind of stuff is so above our heads.
My goodness. Absolutely.
I just saw all the numbers on the whiteboard and just went, okay, I'm done.
I'm done. There's a reason I didn't take math.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Good story. All right, we're going to take a break. We're coming back.
Yesterday, I mentioned that with the rain, we would also see some strong winds at times. We did get some breezy ones. 24 miles per hour is the fastest wind speed reported today in Greensboro so far. Even right around there, 25 in Burlington. So we've had some breezy wind conditions. As we look now in Winston-Salem, very ominous looking sky, but this camera, you see it shaking there? Yeah, the winds are still pretty gusty all across the area, and that's going to persist as we go into tonight. These winds now coming out of a different direction, though. They're coming out of the west, not coming out of the south, not coming out of the southwest, out of the west. And as they continue, as the front continues to cross our area, our wind direction will change, as well as the winds will pick up. That's going to be the case for the next several hours. So let's take a look at the futurecast. These are the current winds. Again, we're seeing them out of the west, even 13 miles per hour in Greensboro. That's fairly breezy. Even in Burlington, they're still out of the southwest. They're taking a transition, though. Take notice, they're coming out of the northwest as we go into tonight. Again, still very breezy. As I mentioned, these winds will stay fairly breezy through the rest of your Wednesday, and they will even stay quite breezy into tomorrow morning. So it's going to be a breezy day and chilly. We've already talked about how the cold temperatures are going to be with us as we wake up, but so will the winds. So breezy conditions, roughly between 15 to even 20 miles per hour. Now, if you are in some cities, you may get lucky where winds are less than that. But again, there's some potential that we could have some gusts right around that range as we go into the start of your Thursday morning. By Thursday afternoon, now look at this. The winds are predominantly on this map coming out of the north, which means we're getting that cold, Arctic, chilly air for the end of the week. And that's what we're going to be feeling. We're no longer get those tropical, warmer feels like we had on yesterday, with that surge of tropical air moving in all ahead of the front. Behind the cold front, we're getting different weather. Haven't shown you the 7-day yet, so I do want to give you enough time to just soak all the details in for the rest of the week and going into the weekend. So tomorrow, your Thursday. As mentioned, a chilly start to the day, but also a chilly finish. Thursday high is at 50 degrees. That's where we're stopping at. But then Thursday night, well, if you're one of those towns and cities that didn't see a 20 for tonight, you may see one early in the day on Friday, or you may feel it early in the day on Friday as temperatures are expected to drop down into the 20s. Now, as we go into the weekend, the forecast does get tricky. We've been talking about the potential for rain, and we had much lower chances of rain for Saturday and Sunday early on in the week, but now it looks as though that trend for Saturday has increased. The timing of it's still not quite certain, but there is a chance for us to get more showers on Saturday. Now, with rain in the forecast and even cold temperatures, you're going to want to keep our WFMY News 2 app downloaded to your phone. Keep it close by. It's easy to access, and you'll get all you need to know. You're going to need those layers in the morning. Download that app on the Apple or Google Play Store. It's free.
It is time for yet another round of useless trivia, one of my favorite things to do. Today we cover everything from moon trivia to one of the most unusual wars on our planet's history. So unusual here. So thanks to the folks at readersdigest.com, here is another installment of our useless trivia segment. So I love this one, the shortest war in history. So it appears that the Sultan of Zanzibar died. It was a British territory owned by the Brits, and they appointed another sultan and didn't consult the British. Well, that didn't sit well, so they sent warships out. They bombed for 38 minutes. The Sultan said, okay, I'm done, and ran away and left, thereby ending the Anglo-Zanzibar War in 38 minutes. Well, we all know about Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel, but did you hear that he hated painting it, apparently? Hated it so much, I'll have to read this, that he wrote a little poem, and someone found this. I've already grown a goiter from this torture, hunched up here like a cat in Lombardy, or anywhere else the stagnant water's poison. He really hated it. Oh, okay, long as we're here, let's talk about the moon. Did you know that shadows are actually darker on the moon than they are on Earth? Here's why. The Earth's atmosphere, when light rays come through it, it scatters a lot of the colors in different directions. So our shadows are kind of wimpy compared to on the moon where there's no atmosphere, the shadows are darker. As a matter of fact, Neil Armstrong actually said when he was on the moon, the shadows were so dark, he had trouble seeing where he was going. Let's talk about strawberries. Did you know that strawberries are not berries? Go away. Neither are blueberries or blackberries because by definition, they have to come from a single flower and have 2 or more internal seeds. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries don't meet that definition. So now you know. Why do we call them strawberries? Here endeth the reading for your strange trivia of the day. You're welcome.
Interesting about the strawberries.
Yeah, because this is in the article, and Chad just asked the question that I don't have the answer to because it wasn't in the article. We should Google it. What are they classified as if they're not berries? But it is something to do with it was a single something flower, because I guess strawberries come from on the vine, right? On like the vine with all the bunch of them. And so do blackberries and blueberries, but I don't, that threw me.
So
why would we
if
call them
strawberries and blueberries aren't berries, is a raspberry a berry?
It just listed those 3.
Is a wild berry a berry? Like now I'm gonna wonder.
Yeah.
Okay, so strawberries are not berries at all. The small seeds are nuts. Therefore, strawberries belong to the category of nuts.
You're kidding. No, I didn't know that. That's better trivia than what I had. Thank you.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Nuts?
So
but even in the awareness of this fact, most people would not count a strawberry as a typical example of a nut.
Yeah,
but it is
yes.
a nut.
That's interesting.
According to the
Learn
Googles.
something new every
The
day.
Googler.
That's crazy. It's also, what was the one that was right after the war?
Was it the moon?
The
Was
moon
it
shadow?
No, before that.
Oh my gosh! Now Michelangelo.
Yes, I would think it would drive me crazy because he was
Upside
like
down.
this, right? Like trying to forget about it.
And the scale of that, right, is so
Right.
massive. When artists do that, they have to grid it out so they can take them little squares at a
Yeah.
time. It must have been so hard, so difficult.
So how do you go about choosing your topics for your useless trivia?
So I usually type in, I have typed in useless trivia before, or strange trivia, or strange facts, and you get, I've got enough to do this every week forever. There is so much stuff. Even that one Reader's Digest article had 60 strange facts.
Okay, so
Wow.
once a week.
I use 4 at a time usually. So.
This is great.
I love it.
And then we could tease to a 5th one that we only share with the Facebook
During the
people
commercial breaks.
During the commercial break.
Yes.
All right.
So now if you have a little bit of trivia, then let me know. We want you to do this through our Facebook group. It's called the 4 to 5 Club. Just search for it. Of course, I'll have to verify where you got it from. Search for it on Facebook. Click join the group, and then there you can send your questions or discuss the show with other viewers if you want to. Send your invite, and we will let you in our exclusive group. back to your 4 to 5. Hey, we made it to the middle of the week. Hump
The
day.
middle of the week, middle of the
Day?
show. Is this like exactly the middle point in our week because we're
It
halfway
is.
And
through the
it's
show?
4:30 on the dot. Well, now we're off.
3
All right.
seconds in.
Not
good.
bad. This half hour, we're going to be talking about something that we can all agree on, or maybe not agree on. The most hated chores. So think about what your most hated chores
Making
are.
my list.
Yep.
Got
Write
a
them in
few
the
of 'em.
Facebook comments, and we're going to be talking about what some of the worst chores are.
Looking forward to that discussion. First, we have some headlines we want to get to with your 4 to 5 roundup. Right now, flu season is bearing down on pharmacies across the Triad. Pharmacists are seeing higher demand for prescriptions, particularly Tamiflu.
We kind of had a heads up that we thought it was going to be a busier flu season. Over the summer, we had several patients come home from a sports camp where 40 kids had caught the flu. And because of that, that had given us a heads up, and we went ahead and stocked up on the Tamiflu.
As the holiday season ramps up, health experts are concerned about family gatherings. They encourage everyone to get both the flu and the COVID vaccine. The latest North Carolina data shows cases peaked earlier this month and started to decline, but the numbers are still high. Take a look at these two maps to see the change. On the right is the 44th week of the current flu season. Our state is colored dark purple, which is the highest level of spread. Now look over to the left. That's the latest map. Our state is now colored dark red. That's better than before, but still considered high spread. New data is expected later this week.
Here's some good news. New studies show surgical masks prevent COVID just as well as those N95 masks. The research involved more than 1,000 healthcare workers at 29 sites nationwide. Experts say the data can help low and middle income families struggling to get expensive N95s. Duke University is taking a close look at genetics and cancer. New data shows family history plays a major role in black men getting prostate cancer. Doctors say those at risk should be more aware and consider genetic testing if it runs in their family.
Right now, Alzheimer's Association is pushing for the FDA to accelerate approval of a new drug to treat the disease. They say new data is promising and could delay cognitive decline for some by about 5 months.
Alzheimer's patient John Teeling is feeling optimistic about an experimental treatment for the mind-destroying disease.
Anything's good, isn't it? Anything that can delay it or give me hope, yeah.
New research from the makers of the drug lecanemab shows it modestly slowed disease progression by about 5 months in early-stage patients.
It boils down really to one thing. That is more time.
In a statement, the Alzheimer's Association says it welcomes and is encouraged by the data.
A person in the earlier stages of disease has more time to enjoy with family, enjoy remembering who they are and who their family is, going on vacations, maybe going to one graduation, having a wedding, experiencing a birth.
Side effects include swelling, which was seen in about 13% of recipients, as well as bleeding in the brain.
There are very few options for people with Alzheimer's, but some health experts are concerned that the modest benefit of this treatment may not outweigh the risk.
So it's a very, very small, almost imperceptible rate of decline change. You really have to look closely and say, is the benefit worth the chance of side effects? And does the benefit actually improve the quality of life?
Last year, the FDA controversially approved another Alzheimer's drug called Aldahelm, despite questions about the risks and benefits, but many doctors and insurers are not prescribing it. The FDA is expected to make a decision on lecanemab in January.
Researchers here in the Triad are joining in on the fight against Alzheimer's. 2 Wants to Know's Ben Briscoe takes a look at clinical trials happening now at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. That's tonight at 6.
All right, Monique, this is everybody's warning. We are headed really cold tonight, aren't we?
Yes, it's going to get cold tonight, and that's all behind this rain event we had earlier today. That rain was ahead of the cold front. The cold air comes behind that front. Depending on where you live, depends on how much rain you get. That Danville number is definitely wrong, but we have seen different numbers as well as Salisbury. We have seen some different numbers depending on where you're located. Greensboro got the highest amount, closer towards that inch mark. Burlington a little bit less than that at 3/4, and then elsewhere you can see kind of within that range. Definitely more than what we anticipated But hey, that's what happens when we have these cold fronts that move through. They do bring some heavy downpours at times. This is a loop through the last 3 hours. You can see nothing really happening. Most of those clouds have now started to clear out, those thicker clouds. We still are seeing some lingering clouds around the area, but by tonight, I do believe we should have continued clearing, and that clearing will help to drop those temperatures really low. So looking ahead to the weekend, if you have that WFMY News 2 app and you're looking ahead to the weekend, you're saying, hey, there's rain in the forecast and she hasn't talked about it yet. Well, here I have it for you. On Wednesday, we're talking right now, that rain has moved out and it's offshore. Your Thursday and your Friday, it's expected to stay dry, but Saturday, that's when the rain does arrive. Now, it does look as though this is happening in the morning. This is one case scenario. We do have another case scenario that kind of brings in a little bit later in the day, so it may not impact the morning, may not impact that Greensboro holiday parade. So we're keeping a really close eye on it just for you to see how things pan out. Sunday does look to be drier in this particular case scenario, and then as we start the week next week, we do have some rain chances on there as well. So we're not completely dry for the next 7 days. We do have some more rain chances looking ahead. Doesn't look as though anything as of now seems like a very active scene, but we're going to keep a close eye on how these things pan out. We do have some fronts moving in, and that's going to allow for a changing of temperatures as well. During that 4 p.m. hour, that other half hour, I did show you guys a 7-day, bringing it back again, because as some of these fronts move through, it will help to determine how warm or cool we get over the next several days. So the cold front we had today, well, it's still crossing the area, inviting some cooler temperatures for your Thursday and Friday. Another front sends warmer air on Saturday before a cool down on Sunday.
Monique, thanks. And you heard her mention how this weather could impact the Greensboro Holiday Parade. Our News 2 app is the best way to keep ahead of any inclement weather this weekend. It is free in your app store.
You might remember back in September when a Miami Dolphins quarterback laid flat on the ground for 15 minutes after taking a major hit. It was the second one in a week and sparked serious conversation about concussions. Several parents took to the internet speaking out against contact sports. Evan Kozloff looks at the recent concerns are impacting trends nationwide.
Flag football is becoming a big deal in Northern Virginia.
423 on one. Ready, break!
Just a few years ago, the Loudoun County NFL Flag Football League had about 300 kids. Now it's ballooned to over 800.
Stay in bounds, stay in bounds.
Ed McPike is the team coach.
They're learning more about football. They're being social at the same time while getting exercise, so I love seeing it. And the laugh, you hear the laughing. Even when they make a bad play, they might goof off and say next time.
And this is the appeal for some, a non-contact alternative to tackle football, a sport which is seeing its numbers drop among young players. According to a survey by the National Federation of State High School Associations, the number of teens playing high school football fell by almost 11% between 2011 and 2021. These numbers are also reflected locally. Meanwhile, over at the Junior Tennis Champion Center in College Park, they're seeing their numbers grow. And for many of these parents, tackle football was a non-starter.
Frankly, no. Sorry, I can't.
That was never going to happen for him. I just didn't think it would fit for my kid.
It was never in the cards for either of my children.
It was never an option.
Milena Galova was against tackle even as her son Nikola became increasingly interested.
She said it's too dangerous and that she'll never ever let me play, no matter even if it's flag football.
He never understood why, and later on we told him that in a way flag football is the first step. If he likes it too much and if he sees he's too good, he will be asking to go.
It's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway, exactly.
But youth football leagues are adapting.
Our kids now know how to play, and we know how to teach it.
Todd Casey is the commissioner for the Vienna Youth Football League and says that they used to have about 500 kids in the league.
James Bennett brought down.
But that number dropped in half amid concussion concerns.
It really forced youth football to take an inward look and to learn how to teach the game better.
Casey says that there's now more training on proper tackling techniques. They've also started limiting the amount of hitting drills during practices, and it seems to be working. Casey says that enrollment is growing.
What we've done is we really work to take the head out of the game. How we teach football now from when I was growing up is night and day different.
Very interesting. I asked you on my Facebook, what do you think about youth playing contact sports? Here's what you all had to say. Devin Kirkland says, former football player, and I have mixed feelings. More and more information is coming out showing how dangerous it is. Frank White wrote, if the kid is comfortable with it, let him or her participate. Lisa Phillips, depends on the age. And then Edward Schmidt wrote, against it, bodies are still developing and damage could be permanent. So I have a lot of thoughts about this as well. I think youth sports in general is so important. It keeps kids active, teaches discipline, and it's really good for social settings. You make a lot of friends. I played a lot of sports when I was young. When it comes to the contact sports, I know we're seeing more information coming out about how dangerous it can be with your cognitive decline and all of that, but there are a lot of steps being made to make those kind of sports safer. For example, with football, we've seen those safeguards that they're putting on the helmets and different things. So I think it really comes down to the parent and their child really talking about it, if it's something they're truly passionate about, or if they see a future playing that sport. But I don't know about, you can't play it all.
Well, and that's kind of where we were when, so at one point, one of my sons asked, he goes, you think I could play? And he's small for his size, and so we were like, but I said, I'll leave it up to you, but start out with flag football.
Yeah.
And see what you think about it. And it's funny, he got into that and he said, now I see how fast people are running, and I can imagine someone were to tackle me at that speed. And he made the decision. I do think you have to they have to have an input, but you have to make that final call.
And growing up, I don't ever remember safety being a reason why someone wouldn't play a sport. I mean, I think the studies just weren't out there. It really wasn't top of mind. And I think that we are really in a transition period right now where some families are seriously considering not allowing their kids to play in contact sports. But then you also think about how the peer pressure to play in some of these sports. I mean, think about like a kid in high school who's saying, sorry, I can't play football anymore because my parents think it's too dangerous. I mean, there's going to be bullying. There's going to be a lot of peer pressure because a lot of people stand on two very distinct sides of this debate.
But the great news is there are so many other sports out there.
Yeah,
you have soccer, you have baseball, you have softball, you have dance. There's so many different things. I know Kayana, our producer, we were talking about this story, and she was saying, as a parent, is my child going to go pro playing this game?
That's the thing.
Do they have the body type to actually be successful in this game? So if you are considering playing that sport, that's something to consider as well.
And then the problem is 90% of parents think, oh yeah, my kid's going to be a
going to the league, going straight to the league, let's get it.
It bothers me when I see the parents that are going all out on their kids and just wailing on them about, you got to get out and do it. And that kid is not going to make it in a professional level. So back off and let them have fun doing it, Anyway, none of my kids are athletic, so I'm in good shape. We'll be right back.
Hi, we are talking about chores you hate coming up, and then I'm sticking around for dogs. Ben Briscoe here. Right now, I need you to be honest. Do you have a pile of clothes somewhere in your house that's already been washed and dried, but they're still sitting there because you're dreading putting them away? To me, that is one of the worst chores out there. But it hardly cracked the top 5 of most hated chores in a survey by Financial Buzz. They said laundry comes in at 5, taking out the trash at number 4, vacuuming at 3, loading and unloading the dishwasher at number 2, and cleaning countertops and tables as the most hated one out there. I was really shocked that vacuuming was on here because I like to
I like to vacuum.
I'm shocked at bathroom. Cleaning the bathroom is the worst.
The worst, yeah.
You would think cleaning the toilet would be on.
Yeah, exactly.
That's my number one.
That's my number one.
I get the washing the dishes is my least favorite
See, I like
because
that.
I grew up hand washing them so much, and I just recently started using the dishwasher because it's just a tedious task, but it has to be done.
That part doesn't bother me. In fact, I joke with my family because they like to put dishes in the sink, and I hate that. And so every day, I'm not kidding, every day when I get home from this shift, I go home and I start going, my family has a fear of the dishwasher. That's what I say every day.
See, you have kids though; they can do that.
They
that
can
can
do
be their
that.
chore.
But they don't.
They're taking out the trash and doing all the other stuff.
To me, I was trying to figure out why cleaning counters and tables was so high.
That doesn't bother me.
The only thing I can think is that you've got to move everything off of the table to clean.
Sure. Growing up, it was like the physical labor that I hated. So the mowing of the lawn because we had a push mower, throwing in wood from the wood pile into our basement. Only people in the Midwest do that.
Well, listen, I got another physical one for you.
Okay.
That's something that I hate totally. It's getting the leaves up out of the yard.
Yeah.
Worst.
A lot of us are going to have to do it after all the rain and wind this morning. So to help, Consumer Reports has 3 tricks to make leaf removal a little easier. Trick number 1 from Consumer Reports probably won't blow you away because it's pretty obvious, but often overlooked. Avoid breezy days. Number 2, blow or rake the leaves onto a tarp to get those piles from one spot to another. It's a lot faster. Then, once you've gotten the bulk of the leaves out of the way, use your tractor or mower to mulch.
Mulching your leaves actually solves 3 problems. For starters, it's a great way to use up the leftover gas in your mower's tank before winter storage, but it also helps get rid of your leaves and feeds your lawn.
That's great. So I was saying you just cut down the trees. You don't have to rake the leaves
There you go.
anymore. Move to a tropical place where you only have to deal with palm trees.
But then you have falling coconuts.
You know what? I
They're
will
dangerous.
I will
That's
cross that
worse
bridge
than
when
a
I get
leaf.
to it.
You have to trim a palm tree, the fronds, every now and then. You have to do that.
Well, you can
See,
hire someone to do
everywhere
that.
has problems.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
right.
to learn to make
That's
the best of it.
Right. I asked on Facebook, what the worst chores are. Melita said leaves are my least favorite as well. And Bobby Odom said, he said something in here. He's always saying something.
He's always
in here.
saying something.
No, I don't know. Dishes.
Yeah,
dishes, Chad. Can't stand to do the dishes.
Hand washing dishes, I hate.
See, I grew up that way, so as an adult, I was still hand washing dishes, but because I hate the chore so much, that's why I'm using the dishwasher now.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll put up 1 pot and run it in the dishwasher just because I don't want to hand wash
great.
it. That's how bad I am. We'll be right back.
Hello, hello, hello. Is it off? Do you guys got me? There it is.
So today is November 30th. Any signs you remember what today is? The last day of hurricane season officially. Now, as we compare this year to last year, we had less named storms, but more hurricanes. And our major hurricanes, well, although we do have less of them as compared to last year, they were still very bad and catastrophic. We were talking about Ian for quite a while down in Florida. Now, as we look across the season, we're seeing a lot of names, maybe if they ring a couple bells for you, as we think back to the start of the season when we had Alex, Bonnie, Colin. Now, some of these were fish storms, meaning they stayed out in the sea. They were named, but they never impacted the U.S., which is great. But this season is now over, and so we're done. Nicole was the last of it, and now moving forward, hopefully we get an all clear. There are some very, very small cases where we get to see additional systems that develop, but don't think that's likely and definitely not expected. So definitely this is the end of the season for us. Nicole is the last of it. Now, as we go over the next several days, as I mentioned here at home, this is not something we need to worry about, but rain is. So make sure to download that WFMY News 2 app so you can always be weather aware.
Snoop Dogg's latest business venture is quite the bow wow. The entertainment icon and entrepreneur dropped a new line called Snoop Doggy Dogs. It features apparel, toys, and other accessories for pet dogs and cats. Some of the outfits are modeled after the dog father himself under collection names like Off the Chain, Boss Lady, and Throw a Dog a Bone. Tim and Ben, you both are pet owners. What are your thoughts about this?
Okay, you were just showing video of a gold dog bowl. That's going to be so disgusting in a moment of seconds after that dog starts eating. There's no way.
Pretty dirty, yeah?
Yeah. I have to wash that thing at least once a week.
Does your dog wear clothes?
He will, but my dog is very big, so it's
huge.
very hard to find clothes that
Right.
Huge sweater.
He will sometimes, I'll just put one of my t-shirts on.
Okay. Well, now you can get a nice little themed one.
Yeah, what about you?
Cats don't wear clothes, but maybe a nice little toy that they can chew up or destroy or whatever I buy for them. The Amazon box is always the biggest hit in the house. It just doesn't matter.
I think this is a cool idea.
Very cute.
Because you know Snoop Dogg is such a businessman. He has wine, he has cereal. So why not break into this? A lot of people have dogs and cats.
People spend a lot of money on their pets.
Yeah.
The average person will spend $68 on their pet for Christmas.
Wow.
Did you Google that?
I know.
I
I'm
did
like,
a
how do you
story.
know this?
It was a story last week when I told people you don't have to do that. They just want the table scraps.
Ben's got a lot of room in his head.
Yeah, he does.
This
I'm
is
like,
why we
whoa.
like having been around. That actually seems low to me. I bet a lot of people would spend more than
A lot more. They're going to get them gold doggy bowls.
I bet those things are a lot more than $68.
I'm just kind of surprised that he hasn't gone into this venture already. I
Yeah.
mean, that seemed like the obvious business venture to
It's
me.
a play on words, you know, all the different titles for the different categories. It sounds like a good idea
Well,
to me.
he's best buddies with Martha Stewart, so maybe she can make like special dog food to put in the dog bowl.
I bet she's already got that.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Are you sure you called the right thing?
Yeah, 0764.
Okay, and then, okay.
Merging calls.
Oh, do you have my thing?
The
Well,
microphone?
give me one moment. Yep, the mic.
Yep, here it is.
Thank you. Okay.
1-2. Investigators say one of the co-pilots fell out off.
Yo, mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9.
Hey, buddy, check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Check, check, 1 2.
Hey, we are talking about most reliable cars.
Hey Brett, guess what? We got a new screen and it's very large. And it's probably too big for me to drive, but oh well. Thank you.
It's time for my 2 cents. When we have each other, we have everything. Family is one of the greatest gifts we can ever have. They are there for us to lean on in a time of need. They support us in our greatest and weakest moments. Though we may not live in the same city or even the same state, we always find a way to come together. This Thanksgiving was a very special one for me and my family. Last year, just 2 days before Thanksgiving, my grandparents lost their home of 60+ years to a gas explosion. By the grace of God, my grandparents and my uncle made it out with minor injuries. So much has changed in the last year since this traumatic event. Instead of focusing on what is no longer here, my 90-year-old grandfather and 86-year-old grandmother are focused on rebuilding and creating a new space for the family to continue to gather for years to come. This year, we celebrated Thanksgiving in my grandparents' new home, built on the same plot of land they have owned for more than half a century. Though pictures and family heirlooms were lost in the fire, our love and support for one another never wavered. We are committed to creating new memories that will last forever. This holiday season, continue to bond with the ones you love most, because family is everything. That's my 2 cents. That's your 4 to 5. WFMY News 2 at 5 starts now. People continue to get sick with the flu. Pharmacies say they're having a hard time keeping shelf stocks with the drugs they need.